Oh, a year we very often return to.
It is, but in this case, it's the year of release of something, and that thing is Doppelganger.
Oh, it's also the year of my release.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes. Carry on.
Fine. Well, two rather good things were released that year. Doppelganger, more commonly known these days by its American title, The Journey to the Far Side of the Sun. Mm-hmm. For those who have not yet seen the film, spoilers ahead, so you may wish to look away now. Oh, no, that won't do you any good.
They've had 50 years.
Yeah, I know, but we do get occasional complaints when we talk about things that are even older, saying, you've got spoilers there. But spoilers.
Yeah.
It stars Roy Thinnis. It is Thinnis, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, and Ian Hendry, as two astronauts who travel to a new planet on the opposite side of the sun and discover a duplicate Earth where everything is the same, except it's not, because it's mirrored. But it's the same other than being mirrored. So all of the writing and logos and so on are backwards in this on this mirror Earth. It's appropriate then that this movie about doubles and duplicates should also have acquired an unexpected duplicate of its own.
Really?
During the 1980s, a second version of the film seems to have entered circulation on British television, presumably thanks to an engineer who was making a duplicate print of the film for broadcast and spotted what he thought was a mistake.
Never.
He noticed that in the second half of the film, the picture seemed to be flopped over with lots of weird backwards writing, almost like you were looking into a mirror.
Right.
Well, surely that can't be right, thought Mr. Engineer. I've got to fix that. Except, yes, it was right, Mr. Engineer. That was the point of the film.
That's the point!
But sadly, Mr. Engineer evidently didn't watch the film and didn't know anything about the story, so presumably gave himself an enormous pat on the back for spotting and fixing the problem and then went home. And that version was then screened several times on British TV during the 1980s.
How funny.
So instead of Roy and Ian from our world finding themselves on a mirror world where everything is the same except reversed, this new cut followed their mirror counterparts finding themselves on our world and facing the same problem. Obviously, the film played out exactly the same. There was no new material added or cuts made, just a slightly confusing switch in the middle where, having crash landed on a new planet with Ross and Kane, the audience suddenly find themselves back on our Earth with Ross and Kane's doubles.
Weird.
It very occasionally happens with sci-fi shows where someone who isn't directly attached to the production or who isn't in the loop fixes, in giant air quotes, something that wasn't actually broken to begin with. Famously, the very first episode of Star Trek ran into problems when they were doing makeup tests to see how a green-skinned woman would look on film. Only the technician who processed the film didn't realise that she was meant to be green, and so stayed up all night correcting her back to human skin tone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this went on for several days with increasingly greener paint being employed, only for the actress to keep ending up looking perfectly human in the rushes, until someone finally bothered to talk to the guy in the film lab and explain, she's meant to look bright green,
she's meant
mate.
to be green, yeah.
Yeah, accent not accurate to the time. Going back to Journey to the Far Side of the Sun, or Doppelganger, we're not exactly sure when Mr. Engineer's version of the film was last broadcast in the UK, but it was possibly 1986, since the only other time the film has been shown on British terrestrial TV since then was on ITV on the 18th of July in the year 2000, where the original cut was shown as an unscheduled replacement for a TV movie called A Mother's Instinct, which had been pulled from the schedule at the last moment. We know not why. Since then, the original cut has been played on the Sci-Fi Channel, Sky Movies, and is currently on the Horror Channel, and the version you find on the DVD and Blu-ray too. So it's probably safe to say that Mr. Engineer's version has been retired somewhere along the line.
Yes,
but
fair enough.
How strange that should happen on a film where the story itself kind of has a built-in defense mechanism that can accommodate that correction. Yeah. So since events seem to be playing out exactly the same on both planets, it doesn't really matter which version you see, because within the story, both are happening simultaneously.
That's right.
So obviously it might have been confusing for viewers of Mr. Engineer's version to see Roy Thinnis losing his marbles about backwards writing that isn't backwards. But that's what would have been happening on our Earth anyway.
Yes, exactly.
So to him it would have been backwards, because he's the doppelganger. If you have any information of any international broadcast of that version of the film, please let us know. And if you fancy seeing it for yourself, well, you'll have to do it yourself. If you've got basic editing software, you can rip your DVD or Blu-ray and flip it over yourself and enjoy a sort of weird alternate universe confusing version at your leisure.
Yes, you could do that, I suppose, yeah.
So there you go.